This is the Fifth Estate Winning Headlines, your media police post, coming to you from Nairobi, Kenya, from the Fort Hall School of Government. In this segment, we summarize some of the headlines that you may have missed this morning, but we also take a look at some of the political pieces that we call cartoons in this country. Today is the 27th of October, 2022, and I'm 2M.
I am MC Squared.
And I am 2J, and in case you missed today's headlines, here they are. In the Daily Nation, Hustler Cabinet. In the Standard, Reality Check for President. In the Star, Battle for plum parastatal jobs as terms expire. And in the People Daily, CSs get jobs after night of winning. So first and foremost, I think it's only right for us to say congratulations to President William RUTO for forming your government. Well done. The hard work starts now.
Yes.
And also we extend our congratulations to the new CSs.
Absolutely.
We saw a lot of the former CSs hard at work.
Yeah.
You have big shoes to fill.
Yes.
Good luck.
Yes.
Yeah, get the job done.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, turning to the first headline of the day, The Standard, on what they call President Ruto's reality check. And it occurred to me that the office of the president is a crisis magnet in its first 100 days.
Yeah.
And this has bothered me. Whether it is the work of market forces or the mischief of political opponents, what is it about a president's first 100 days that attracts political, social, and economic crises? Why do the two attract each other? And is this manufactured or is this organic? So in 2003, Mwai Kibaki was described as a president who, and I quote, squandered his first 100 days and failed to achieve any of the objectives he had promised in that period. In 2013, during Uhuru Kenyatta's first 100 days, countrywide polls showed that Kenyans felt they were worse off under his rule. Their main concerns were the increased cost of living and ballooning government debt. Does this sound familiar?
Very.
William Ruto's first 100 days have been rocky, and it's fair to acknowledge that. Just like Kibaki and Uhuru before him, he's dealing with a crisis of debt, inflation, failed promises, and growing public unrest. But what do the first 100 days of three presidents, 20 years apart, have in common? And what can it tell us about this moment? In our view, this is the nature of power. It is dangerous to be powerful, and somehow this attracts obstacles. How is it that every election period attracts an unga crisis? Or that every president for the past 60 years has found themselves dealing with a drought crisis that was worse than the last one? Maybe it's not the office. Sorry, maybe it is the office rather, not the man who occupies it that is the crisis magnet. The presidency, that seat, is both powerful and a target at the same time. The crisis is therefore organic in nature rather than manufactured for gain. Or is that true? So we ask, is there a way for Ruto to benefit from the fatal attraction of crises to his throne? Law 10 of the 48 Laws of Power tells leaders to avoid the unhappy and the unlucky because their state is infectious. But if you find that you attract negativity by nature, use it to your advantage and associate yourself with greatness. Allow us to interpret this for President Ruto. The solution is to create a problem that only he can solve. And if done well, it can change his fortune. Here's an example. In 2013, when government proposed to raise the VAT on petroleum goods from 8% to 16%, it rocked the country. And it could not have come at a worse time. It was at the tail end of Uhuru's first 100 days. People filled their cars in panic, the price of matatus jumped, and generally it charged country into discomfort. Polls showed that that the country was violently opposed to this by 60%. But very quickly, Uhuru moved to have this VAT increase suspended for 3 years. He saved the day. Now, was this the work of a cornered man or the work of a wise politician? If people depend on you for their happiness and prosperity, you have nothing to lose. This was a power play executed brilliantly. And it's a move that Uhuru used again 3 years later when the VAT suspension ended.
Yes.
And even then, the fear of the crisis shook the country.
Yeah.
And again, he saved the day.
Yes.
Ooh.
So then, does President Ruto have any incentive to manufacture a crisis? We will leave the answer to you. But is it a coincidence that country is beginning to spiral? Is Ruto in for a reality check like the Standard claims? Or is he a wise politician with a plan? I think the Standard has misunderstood the politics of William Ruto. But maybe we have to. I guess we'll see.
Absolutely.
What Tujay has told us is that it begins badly.
Yes.
And if this is the way presidents start their administration, you as President Ruto could be the worst ever. Let me mention some of the lowlights.
Yes.
We're just recovering from the effects of COVID-19. There is a war going on in Ukraine.
Yes.
And as 2M told us yesterday, the global north might go into recession next year.
Yes.
On top of that, the drought.
Yes.
Over 4 million Kenyans are facing starvation. And the price of unga is affecting everyone.
Yes.
And if that is the situation, Mr. President, you are faced with very tough choices. Some Kenyans are already questioning if you are up to the task. But today, let me be the devil's advocate and disappoint those who might be looking forward to your failure. Conventional wisdom says, a president who has inherited all the problems of the former administration must always hit rock bottom,
Yes.
face negative reviews, and appear to be making mistakes with every decision. But you, President Ruto, your history has shown that you have never lost any battle you have fought. You are a man who has made it against so many odds. In fact, there are many who are still in denial that you made it to the presidency.
Oh, tell me about it.
Truly,
Yeah.
the way you have managed your path to the presidency has left many people dumbfounded. This suggests, sir, that you have the means to fix the problem we just described.
Yeah.
And the path to fixing this problem might not be straightforward, just like the path you took to the presidency. Which reminds me of a story where things are not straightforward and outcomes are not predictable.
Yeah.
In this story, a farmer and his son owned a horse through which they earned a living. One day, the horse ran away and their neighbors exclaimed, "Your horse ran away, what terrible luck." The farmer replied, "Maybe so, maybe not." A few days later, the horse returned home with 10 other wild horses. The neighbors shouted out, "Your horse has returned and brought several horses home with him. What great luck." The farmer replied, "Maybe so, maybe not." Later that week, the farmer's son was trying to tame one of the wild horses and it threw him to the ground, breaking his leg. The neighbors cried, "Your son broke his leg. What terrible luck." The farmer replied, "Maybe so, maybe not." A few weeks later, soldiers from the National Army marched through town, recruiting all boys for the army. They did not take the farmer's son because he had a broken leg. The neighbors shouted, "Your boy is spared. What tremendous luck." To which the farmer replied,
Maybe so,
"Maybe not."
maybe not.
Mr. President, sir, like the discerning farmer, be selective where you expend your energies.
I love it.
To begin with, don't listen to everything Kenyans are telling you.
True.
They are saying, "What great luck. This is the best moment for hustlers." Dare to tell them, "Maybe so,
Maybe not.
They are saying, "What terrible luck. This is the worst drought ever." Dare to tell them,
Maybe so, maybe not.
For sure, only you know the direction you will lead this nation. So make it your intention to focus only on your circle of influence. Isn't that how you made it to the presidency?
I love it. Lovely.
Wow.
It's
MC
fantastic.
squared, you're a new devil's advocate.
Very good. True. Today I want to posit a hypothesis and ask, is God angry with Kikuyus? I ask this because how is it that in 1 week, Kikuyus from Gatondo have been hit by 2 plagues? 1, the plague of ravaging drought, and 2, the plague of jiggers. But before I go further and interrogate my hypothesis, allow me to give you a story. Once upon a time, the frogs wanted a king. And so they prayed to God saying, Mighty One, send us a king to establish order amongst us. God obliged and then dropped a huge log into the swamp. At first, the frogs were horrified by what appeared to be a monster king. But with time, they discovered that the log was motionless. Then the bravest of the frogs jumped on the log. The log did not strike back. Seeing this, all the other frogs mounted the log and danced their heads off on it. Still, it did not strike. Frustrated, the frogs sent an SMS to God, asking for replacement. At first, God ignored it, but they persisted. Then the Almighty dropped a stork to be their king. Unlike the motionless log, the stork was super active. He took their wives, ate their children, and tortured the rebels. Then order was established. The proverbial frogs in this story are Kikuyus. God gave them uhuru, but Kikuyus desecrated his kingship and insulted him. And when God saw this, he got angry and sent them a stork to teach them a lesson. What's the point of my story? If God is punishing Kikuyus, it is not because they chose RUTO. No. RUTO is God sent. If God is punishing Kikuyus, it is because of how they treated Uhuru. And if the people of Gatondo are bearing the brunt of this punishment, it is because they insulted their own son. We want to tell Kikuyus, RUTO is no Uhuru. He will take no bad manners from you. And should Kikuyus begin to insult and desecrate RUTO and his office, he will politically eat them up, just like the stork ate the frogs.
Wow. But that got me thinking that maybe at some point there may need to be some cleansing or apology where the Kikuyus invite Uhuru back, have a ceremony of sorts, and apologize to him. Maybe then their bad fortunes will come to an end. Who knows?
Who knows?
Maybe so, maybe not.
Maybe so,
all right.
maybe not.
On that note, we have a 3-part criteria that we use to judge the headlines by. We ask ourselves, is this headline topical or speculative, repetitive or groundbreaking, and finally thoughtful or just plain lazy? Now, this headline by the Daily Nation, Hustler Cabinet.
It's rubbish.
I have a question. Were these not the same newspapers that were attacking these billionaire Hustler Cabinet members? And now they are praising them for being the Hustler Cabinet.
I think that's a lazy headline.
On the face of it, I thought it was interesting, but then I engaged my brain and I disagree.
They turned, or what has just happened?
Yes, I think they've turned. So we tossed the Daily Nation.
Absolutely.
The Standard, reality check for president. I think I've just made a very convincing argument that it is not a reality check. President RUTO is doing just fine, right?
Absolutely.
Toss the Standard. The Star, battle for plum parastatal jobs as terms expire.
They're just describing. So, I mean, what is it? What's the whole hula baloo with people wanting jobs?
Yep, no thanks. We toss the Star. Finally, the People Daily, CSs get jobs after night of winning. I think we need to ask ourselves what happened between those 2 nights.
No, I mean, I think about it this way. It has everything. Things are unrelated. It has everything to do with what Rigathi said on Sunday in Kitui. He said that he almost disagreed with President RUTO over the involvement of three Kamba ministers into government.
Do you know what, Tuam? Let me stop you right there. You're attributing fantastic conversation to useless headlines. I'd rather we have this conversation.
Well done.
On to the political pieces that we call cartoons, where we also have a 3-part criteria. We ask ourselves, are the cartoons humorous or dry, satirical or pessimistic, and finally effective or just plain lazy? So to kick off that conversation, how about we look at the Star? MC squared.
Yep. What I have in the Star is Wanjiku. I do not know why Wanjiku goes through problems every time. Now Wanjiku is being held by Parliament. And then the executive is force-feeding this lady who appears to be Malonza was feeding this lady to Wanjiko's Wanjiko's mouth with a wheelbarrow that is turned into a spoon.
It's pushing Malonza
Towards Wanjiko.
towards Wanjiko,
Wanjiko.
or down Wanjiko's throat,
Yeah.
shoving down her
Wanjiko.
throat.
So of course the question is, one moment she's essentially rejected,
Yeah,
and then the next moment
absolutely.
she's approved.
And this,
What happened?
And I think that this has to do, in my view, I could be wrong, but this has to do everything with what Rigathi said on Sunday. He said he almost disagreed with William Ruto over the inclusion of Kamba MPs or Kambas in cabinet.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the reason, his premise was Kikuyus gave Ruto 50% of the vote. So why then, of his vote, so why then are you involving or are you bringing in Kambas into? And if you listen to what William Ruto said today, he said, and I quote, when I was crafting government, my government, not what Rigathi says. Rigathi says we gave Ruto 50% of his
But
total
the
vote.
question, is Rigathi entirely wrong?
I mean, he's not wrong.
I think that with what Gema
Yeah.
gave Ruto for his win, which was about 3 million votes,
Yeah.
they got 7 CS nomination or 7 CS positions.
Yeah.
The Kambas, or Kamba Nation, who gave Ruto about 250,000 votes,
Yes.
get 3 CS positions.
Yeah.
It doesn't quite add up, does it?
Tujay, it's not even a matter of whether Rigathi is wrong. It is a question of Ruto establishing hegemony.
Yep.
I'll explain it this way. Mashujaa did that, right? It was
Yes.
last week. Did you notice Rigathi's speech was written for him? But anywhere did he mention dilapidated economy, Uhuru Kenyatta, Karanja Kivisho, and Fred Matiang'i?
Yeah.
It seemed so out of turn,
And Supreme
right?
Court.
It seemed like he was told, this is exactly what you're going to do. You're not going to make any crazy statements. And for 1 week, Rigathi has kept his mouth shut.
Yeah.
True, right?
True,
And today, Ruto, he did not, when he named his cabinet, he made sure he sat alone. Remember 2013?
Yeah.
And 2017, when Uhuru Kenyatta was naming cabinet, he stood with William Ruto there.
Yes.
All right. Now, William Ruto wanted to make it clear to everybody that he is the boss.
Yep.
He is in charge. And therefore, if Malonza was going to go through problems, it was William Ruto who was going to save her.
Yeah.
Period.
Yep.
I think another thing we must not forget is Ruto is planning for 2027.
Very true.
Yeah.
I think he's planning for 2062.
No, but in planning for 2027, there's a role he's seeing that the Kamba Nation is going to play for him.
Yeah,
True.
So
absolutely.
he's wooing them now.
Absolutely.
Very smart.
And they may just be the ones to replace Kikuyus.
We will see. Okay, so what do we think about the cartoon by our dear friend Celeste?
I think it's okay.
Okay, I say let's park it in the meantime while we look quickly at the Daily Nation, again on the CS conversation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Daily Nation. You have caricatures there of Kipchumba Murkomen, and that's Speaker Muturi, Aisha Jumwa, what's his name there? Wycliffe Mudavadi, Musalia Mudavadi, Eden Duale behind him, and the rest of cabinet. And
Yeah.
they have passed through what is a nominee conveyor belt. And I mean, I think what Ndula is trying to tell us here is whatever happens, even if the one of the nominees was a dog, would still be minister.
Okay, can I put it in a different way?
I think I was a tad bit crude there.
I think that what Ndula is trying to tell us is that this vetting process was an exercise in futility. It didn't really matter. It was all for show. In fact, we could have maybe even gone without it. All it did was tell us how rich some of these individuals are. We'll wait to see in 5 years if they are richer or poorer. I think that'll be more interesting.
Yeah.
What do we think about the cartoon?
I think it's. I think we throw it. to be
Okay,
honest.
we'll toss the Daily Nation.
Yeah.
And finally, we'll take a look at the Standard from Gado. In the cartoon, wow, okay, this is about the murder of the Pakistani journalist Ashrad Sharif, who was killed on Sunday. And here we have a car that has bullet holes in it. I think there's some blood. We have the police standing around with weapons that look like they have just been fired. And then one of the officers says, "You can now come out with your hands above your head."
Whoa.
Okay.
Oh.
So, my first instinct with this cartoon is this is grim and a bit
Insensitive.
insensitive, yeah. However, I think on this table we have a lot of respect for Gado, and he's a cartoonist where you have to read between the lines. So I think if you look at the caption, "Come out with your hands above your head," it's very clear that the person in this car is not able
to do that.
Yeah.
And Gado's little man is also absent. I don't know
Yeah.
why he did not show up at the scene of the crime this time.
You know, I mean, I think what Gado is also telling us here, this is foul play. And there's, I mean, not is, but could be, hypothetically speaking. Kenyan police are not known to shoot at big cars, V8s.
No.
All right?
Yeah.
They don't simply shoot at them. The second, the story doesn't add up. One they say there's a similar car, and then it just turns up that the car wasn't stolen.
Yeah.
You know, and then if you see everyone here, there's a smoking. Every cop has a smoking gun. Right?
It means it was unnecessary force, in Gado's opinion.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And if you see the Pakistani government sending three ministers or detectives,
3 senior security officers.
absolutely, you
Yeah.
know, just to investigate.
Something
is
doesn't
up,
add up.
you
Something
know.
smells.
Something is up.
All right. So, what do we say about the cartoons?
I think
So we've tossed the Daily Nation.
Yeah.
I say we can park the Standard out of respect.
Yeah.
You know, this was
absolutely,
a strange situation.
absolutely.
I say we give it to the Star.
Yep. I could not agree more.
Yep. All right, there you have it. We have no winning headline today, and we have a winning cartoon from the Star. Don't forget, you can find us on your TV screens. We're on Pang Free to Air, GoTV, and Star Times. Have a lovely evening, and we will see you tomorrow.
God bless.